Hello, Kirk McDowell here with Contribution Selling. Today I'm here to answer the question, what is the best sales training program? Well, that's kind of a loaded question, but we'll just start off at the beginning. Um, the best sales training program is going to be the one that's best suited for you, best suited for whatever you're trying to accomplish, right? Maybe there's no best so much as what is the best match for you and what you're up to and what you're trying to accomplish in sales training. Uh, let's say you're a new salesperson, somebody who's new at sales or newish at the beginning of their sales career, and they would like to kind of take it to the next level, take it from beginning to intermediate, so let's say. Um, the kind of things you want to look at are, what's your selling environment? Are you in retail sales? Do you go into people's homes? Are you business to business? Are you business to person? Are you selling capital equipment? Are you selling a monthly service? Et cetera, et cetera, right? There are lots of different types of sales training programs. I have an observation about that, and which led me to develop something for myself. So this is going to be a little, perhaps um, it's going to sound like I'm just sort of, speaking for myself, but for my own benefit. But I'll just take you through a quick little story. So I started off selling in the '80s. I'm 56 years old, and I started off selling copiers in New Orleans in the '80s, and it was highly, highly, highly competitive. Capital equipment, low margins, just very competitive, fast-paced selling environment, capital equipment selling environment, and it was quite a struggle, to sort of get my feet on the ground. First year was very difficult. But I did lots of sales training, and I mean lots of sales training. Most of it at the time was audio cassettes. Uh, Audio cassettes. I'm laughing because you may not know what a cassette is, but that's how we used to listen to music back in the day. Um, of the big sales trainers of the time, and there were people like Tom Hopkins and Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy, and then sort of mindset people like Dennis Waitley, and then negotiating training with Roger Dawson, and Tony Robbins was just getting started, and he had this like brand new thing called NLP, and nobody knew what that was at the time, and it was all very exciting. But one thing I've noticed over the years, and so since then I've worked for a number of national sales companies and participated in numerous national sales training programs, and then started leading programs for a international transformational seminar company, and then led their their introduction program for many years, which is essentially also kind of a sales situation, and then trained many people to do that over the years, and I'm still training people in that sort of transformational, heart-centered selling approach today. But here's what I've noticed over the years, and over the pretty much every piece of training I've ever come across is actually a more subtle form of manipulating people to get them to do what you want them to do. And it usually starts off with a really strong conversation about how we're not going to manipulate, and then you absolutely learn techniques to manipulate people emotionally, psychologically, situationally, create false urgency and false, pending doom, and make people cry and all that kind of stuff. Like, I've seen some really interesting sales training models, um, all of which I don't care for in that respect. I don't. One thing I ran across a transformational course a big weekend course that I did 20 something years ago. And there was a moment there when I saw that I had been being manipulative as a professional salesperson, and then I saw that it was unnecessary. You know, um, Actually, like, being the real deal and being authentic and communicating professionally to people, and treating people like an adult. Treating people like they're smart enough to make the right decision for themselves, and supporting them with getting them the information that they need to make a great choice or a great decision, and just really being the real deal is a much better approach. It's better for me as a human being, and it's actually good for business. So what I've noticed is most forms of sales training tend to be manipulative, and sales training has been around for half a minute for several decades, and so the manipulation is pretty well disguised. But I recommend something else. So I actually created a very brief, elegant sales model called contribution selling. Contributionselling.com. The link is in the link is in the description and the title. And it's basically an approach to selling where you kind of retire the idea of trying to be a great salesperson, right? And resurrect the idea of being world class at whatever it is that you do, right? So let's say you're a coach, right? That's kind of who I tend to work with, coaches and consultants and so forth. People who make a living with their expertise. So what I recommend to my clients is instead of working on your selling techniques, right, work on being the best at what you do, like being the real deal, top 10% of the world. Real deal for me is, world class for me is top 10% of the world, right? Real deal is world class, which means top 10%, however you care to measure that, but that's what I'm striving for, right? So better than learning how to sell, like to keep developing yourself to be the very best in your industry, right? And then secondly, learn how to articulate who you are and why you're here, like what you're committed to for people, like why you're passionate about what you do and why you are accomplished at what you do and why the service you provide is world class or the products you provide are world class and why why you've chosen to be in this field and why you have a particular passion for it, right? And you start to identify as those rare individuals that are actually out in service of other human beings, right? When somebody needs a service or a product, when someone's engaging with a salesperson, by the way, fun fact, people do not look forward to engaging with salespeople, right? When they look at their calendar, they've got a sales appointment on the calendar. That's not good news. It's not like yippee, I get to talk to a salesperson today. Okay, it's really more like, oh gosh, I have to talk to a salesperson today, and you're very likely to meet resistance and distrust. Well placed, by the way. Salespeople are notorious for lying, right? So. Resistance and a little bit of distrust up front is kind of par for the course. You want to get used to kind of starting off every relationship. If you're sales, you're essentially creating relationships. You want to get used to starting relationships like below zero and get really good at getting to zero and then moving up from there, right? Because when you walk in as the salesperson, you're below zero, trust me. Whether they're smiling or not, don't get that twisted, right? They don't trust you, and they don't, at least initially, right? And so what you're going to find is what's really important is learn how to articulate the value that you are, the why, the who you are, like why you're moved to provide this type of service, and the value, like why this is better, like why this is a really great solution. So the assumption here is that you are the real deal, and the solutions you have are of actual value. So none of what I'm talking about works unless you actually do have something of value for the world, right? So let's assume that. Let's assume you have an actual interest in being a contribution and making a difference for people, like providing a solution to people's problems, right? So if that's actually who you are, like a heart-centered professional individual out to be of service, right? In whatever area you've chosen, whatever field you've chosen. And so then the trick is not to be the best salesperson on the block. The trick is to be the best, whatever you are, the best coach, let's say, on the block, or the best, whatever field that you've chosen. Be the best at that, or be the best for some particular audience or some particular niche, or be the best solving some particular problem. Find a hill and own it. Like find a niche, find a territory that's yours and own that. Be the Mike Tyson picked boxing and he owns that hill. Michael Jordan picked two mics there, picked basketball and he owns that hill. Like pick a hill. Sometimes you have to put two or three things together so that the hill is small enough that you can own it. I work with business consultants to help them make irresistible offers. So I know a lot about business consulting. I know a lot about irresistible offers. You put them together, and if I'm talking to a business consultant about irresistible offers, I'm a very strong option for that commitment, because that's what I'm the real deal about that. I actually know about those two things, and I have a track record and a successful track record. So better than being a great salesperson would be being really great at what you do, and being really great at articulate how you do. And essentially, the most important thing is to be somebody that people want to do business with. Be the person people want to do business with. All right, so I've got some free training available for you. It's right here at contributionselling.com. The URL will be in the description and in the title. I super appreciate your time. I hope this has been helpful. And happy selling. Go out and be the change you wish to see and give what you like to get. All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.